In a recent video I showed how to make this Toro de Osborne bull figure on my CNC engraver. Now the first thing that I needed to do was to get it from this Jpeg format into DXF so that I could then create Gcode from it. And I'm just going to show you a quick way of how to do that using Inkscape. Having launched Inkscape, simply go to the File menu and Open, and select our Jpeg image. We can just leave these at the default, and here we can see the image. If we zoom in on the image, it becomes apparent that it is a bitmap, as the outline is quite fuzzy here on the horns. So what we need to do first is just to resize it so it'll fit within the area of the canvas, if you like, the background. Make sure that the image is selected and then go to the Path menu and trace bitmap. In the options here, there's not really much we need to do as we're dealing with black and white, but I find the best is to change the threshold to 0.5, and we can do a live preview so we can see that that is going to be complete, and we simply press OK. Now it appears as if nothing has happened. However, there are in fact now two images superimposed. So if I move this image out of the way, we can see that there is another bull standing behind it. Now one is the resultant traced bitmap, which is now our scalable image, and one is the original. So again, it's a simple matter to zoom in. You can see that this image here is our traced bitmap, and the bitmap itself is still behind with the fuzzy edge. So we're finished with our bitmap image. So if we select that one, which is behind, and simply delete it, we are then left with our scalable image. One important point to note here is that before we export it, we need to move it into the correct position on our background canvas. When we export this as a DXF, it's going to have a coordinate system. So it's going to have 0, 0, which is referenced to this bottom left-hand corner. If we just left the image floating around here, our 0 would be in the middle of the bull, which we don't necessarily want. So let's position that down in that left-hand corner so that our 0, 0 coordinates are here. And then simply File and Save As. And by default it will say SVG, but we want to do it as a DXF. Now in this menu here, if either of these are selected, for my particular case I had to unselect both of those, and I chose the base units to be millimeters. The reason for that was that with either of these selected, it didn't import into the DXF2GCODE program. So we simply OK that, and the job is done. We go back to our original folder now. We can see that we have our DXF file and our Jpeg. So the next thing to do is just to test our DXF in our DXF2GCODE program. I've opened the DXF2GCODE program, so simply we need to find the file that we've just created. There is an error message, but I've tried this before, it doesn't seem to make any difference to the output, and we can clearly see the outline of our bull and our 0, 0 point here. And we won't go too far into this, but if we select the shape, we can trace around and see the X and Y coordinates of each part before we go ahead and export it as Gcode. And as always, there'll be links down in the description to my other videos on the CNC cutting of this object. Enjoy!